Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to this very special Zoom meeting brought to us by Lancashire Cricket. I'm Warren Hegg and I'm delighted to welcome our very, very special guest this evening. Hopefully one of the first of a series we're going to do during the winter of chatting to our players. And like I say, I'm delighted today to be speaking to a great player who's played over 350 matches, played in 9 test matches, 5 one-day internationals, took over 700 wickets with a best bowling of 9 for 67. Ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to welcome this evening former Lancashire, Durham and England fast bowler, Graham Bunny Onions. How are you doing, Bunny? Are you okay, mate?
Thanks very much, mate. Thanks for that introduction. It's very kind. Just about getting to a stage now, obviously after retirement, of kind of reminiscing a little bit now and kind of not looking back as much. So kind of and looking forward a little bit, but without a doubt, it'll be nice to kind of, share a few thoughts and a few memories and answer a few questions, which will be nice, really.
That's great, mate. And can we just start on your? We'll just start with the injury. It's a topical thing at the moment, and everyone, including myself, was gutted to hear that you'd had to retire. How are you doing now? And can you just give us a little bit of a brief resume of what it was?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this year of 2020 has obviously not been ideal for anybody, really. But actually, in many ways, it was quite nice for me. I spent pretty much the beginning of the summer when we found out the news of just getting fit and getting strong. And although we couldn't get the gym, it worked quite well for me. Obviously, quite lean. I'm a strong believer that you need to get in the gym to kind of keep yourself going throughout the summer and get the overs in, but you don't need to be super strong. I rely a lot on my my whippiness and my pace from just being, quite agile and flexible. So I do a lot of work on that. But I spent a lot of time getting fit, getting miles in my legs. Came back, obviously, while training at Chester, Broughton Hall. That was, to be honest, that was going, like a dream. I was absolutely loving it. Still very much felt I had plenty to offer. Played the practice games, monitored my overs. Once again, performed. Went to Yorkshire. Very much had a contract for next year. Then I literally I was feeling absolutely fine. We went down to, it seems strange saying this, but went down to Worcester for a home game against Leicester, which is obviously very strange. But just literally went to pick up a ball. Got massive shooting pains, kind of down my leg and spasms. The toss was literally just about to go up. My name was in it, and I just had to basically just say to the obviously to Dane as he was just walking out of the middle. I said, look, I can't play. I'm really sorry, I can't play. Of course, incredibly emotional. This is something like that feeling at that moment in time was something very different to what I've felt in the past. And I knew something wasn't right. I knew something was worrying me and was troubling me, and there was some underlying factors that was giving me some serious amount of pain. Of course, what goes on after that is a lot of hard work from incredibly good backroom staff of, obviously Sam Hearn and Todd Webster and Rooster, Dave Roberts at Lancs. Went to see a specialist. And unfortunately, I got the report to say that he would recommend me not play any more cricket for my long-term spinal health. Now, for a while, if I'm being honest, I did think I'm just going to ignore that advice. I'm just going to play. But that's not my natural competitive person that I am. Constantly want to pump myself, because I think as I made myself a pact, I said, look, from 2010. When I had that bad injury, I made a pact that I would go until I broke, and I would just give everything I can and get everything out of my body. And actually, I can honestly answer now and say, well, actually, I've done that until I broke. I couldn't have bowled another ball, and I had to take the advice of a specialist. Really, the specialist. That's why he, I suppose, gets paid the big bucks, and that's why he gives you the report, because you've got to listen to these people. And the last thing I want to do when I've got a young family and an amazing wife that's supported me is to end up in a wheelchair. That's no good for anyone.
No, that's a very, very good point. And someone knows you've been around you since, since when you were at Durham, and you've come over to the Red Rose of Lancashire. I've known you as a guy that's given 110%, and every time he's walked onto that field, whatever badge he's got on his on his shirt, and that must have been a really difficult time for you. But Bunny, you're a real integral part of that dressing room here at Lancashire. And tell us, what's it been like during 2020 with no crowds, a different format in cricket? What's it been like?
Yeah, unusual to say the least. I mean, I've been very lucky that I've been part of a Durham side where the members were. We had quite a good amount of members for 4-day cricket, and then when I came to Lancashire, it was exactly the same. It was great. The support and the following that we had was phenomenal. I mean, you played a lot of games. I'll not mention grounds, but there's very little, I suppose, atmosphere with regards to crowds. So that didn't change a massive amount. But definitely with regards to Durham and Lancashire, them grounds were often heavily supported. Obviously, we obviously played against a T20 game against Yorkshire, and you're used to 30,000 people there, and there's nobody. And it's a strange one where you hit a ball and you can hear run to, or run hard, or run him out, or attack the ball, or you can hear exactly what's going on in the game. Where normally it's you can see the game, especially from a coach's point of view, and when you're looking down on it, you kind of read the game a little bit. But what I thought is that, and it's interesting because I don't know what it was like, maybe if you're watching on Sky, is that you could kind of listen to the game and listen how it was going to go. So like from a young kid's point of view, is that you could actually listen and think, actually, what are they thinking? What are they discussing during the middle of the game? And, things like that. But look, we thrive on performing and competing against opposition and being in front of crowds. And it's without a doubt being strange, but let's be honest, we would rather just be playing than not playing at all. So as soon as we got that, the 1st of August we're going to play, we were just like, yeah, just get us out there, get the ball in our hand, and let's start competing against some players.
Yeah, it was. I don't know about the ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls that are with us this evening, but for me, that early part of the summer, having no cricket whatsoever, was a really, really tough time for me. I love my cricket. I watch any game at any time and any demographic, and I suppose as members as well, they had it pretty hard as well.
Yeah, well, I never thought that we'd play any cricket at all, especially not 4-day cricket. I mean, we did this great thing with initiative with obviously with Lancs again. I think they've been really quite supportive. Well, hopefully they think the same way towards the members. And I rang up about 5 members who have been members for life, and they were just so grateful that I rang them up and we spoke to them, and they were just saying, look, we're kind of preparing for no cricket, but it's their life. It's what they've always done. They get a lift or they get on the tram and they go and watch the cricket. It is literally, obviously from the northeast, it's black and white everywhere. It's football crazy, and it's no different in Manchester. It is literally, it's football, it's cricket, it's what keeps people's mind healthy. It's great. So that was my biggest concern through the whole thing. We've just got to get some sort of cricket going so people can. Of course, it got streamed in it, which is amazing. Hopefully, the members and supporters appreciated that and enjoyed it. I was quite heavily involved with that, so that was quite good fun. Huge amount of viewing, wasn't it? So it was quite nice. But we've just got to, obviously heading into the winter now, we've just got to hope that starting next year, it's going to be, everything's going to, fingers crossed, be back to normal.
So, Bunny, since the injury, you've had time to reflect on everything that you've done in the game, and it's been a fantastic career, and obviously lots and lots of experience to be able to pass on now to the younger generation of seam bowlers at Lancashire. Straight off the top of the head, Saki Mahmood, George Burrows, who's come into the team at the moment. Have you worked with those guys?
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest thing when I got injured is it did hit me hard. Of course, it did. But then you have to look towards the future. And we had the first game. I think we had Tom Hartley and Ed Moulton, young lads who I worked with in the winter, making debuts. So of course, I knew some of them deep down on that day down at Worcester that I was in a lot of trouble. But then you had young lads making their debut and kind of progressing in the game, and all the hard work was kind of paid off that they did in the winter. And then you had somebody, and I speak very highly of this lad as Buzzer, George Burrows, is that he's gone through some really dark days with regards to stress fractures and self-doubt, exactly what I went throughout a lot of periods of my career. Unsure of is he going to make it? Is his back going to hold up the rigours of cricket? And he made his debut against Yorkshire in a Roses match, and I was there, and I was honestly so emotional. I was just thinking, like, this is great. I've got something that now I can be very proud of. I've helped him a little bit along his journey. The future I'm going to be working with him, which is fantastic. And that's from a coach's point of view, that's all you can ask for. You just want to try and help and nurture some of these lads along their little journey, and give them an opportunity to fulfill their dreams. Exactly the same as coaches when I first started out gave me an opportunity to help me along the way to produce, obviously take a few wickets and win a few games. And I was lucky enough to play for England as well, so that was great.
Well, you've mentioned that. You've mentioned dreams, and you've mentioned the latter playing for England as a young lad growing up in the northeast, playing in that northeast. Did you ever, in your wildest dreams, think that you'll pull on the Three Lions for England and walk out there for a Test match to play for your country? I know, Bunny, that I'd have liked to have said that. I wanted to do that, but I never in my wildest dreams thought that those dreams would come true. And it just goes to show, you got a young man watching us this evening, I can see that his dream may be to play.
Yeah, no, I absolutely not, Peggy. I didn't. Never did I ever think that I would. I suppose even play professional sport. Honestly, I didn't, because I just didn't. One of my biggest things, and it maybe's held us back a little bit, is I probably didn't realise how good I was, and I mean that in the best way possible. I mean, obviously I could bowl, and I could. I obviously turned out to be obviously a successful bowler, but I think maybe what could have just helped me get to that next level and constantly keep on. Maybe I'm doing myself a disservice, really, or injustice, but I didn't quite back myself enough, so I always trained ridiculously hard all the time. So what I mean is I was never satisfied with just being okay, or just being all right. Like I did an article not long ago for somebody for the Wisden Cricketer, and I remember on me ODI debut, which was at Durham actually. I just bowled and I played in the game. I practiced loads and I did quite well in the game. But I took the bag of balls to the nets because I wanted to try and practice an in swinger. And all the lads were like, "You've just bowled 10 overs on your debut." And I was like, "No, I need to work on this to get better." And that was like, I suppose, a little bit of OCD, but I just wanted to constantly. I love the challenge of getting better all the time. But that's maybe because I just didn't quite back myself as much as maybe what I should have.
Well, you did it, mate, and let me tell you, from someone who retired in 2005, you still look back on those days, and you will be very, very proud to when you sat there with your slippers and your pipe up in the northeast and it's freezing cold. That you played for England, mate, and you can't take.
Got my slippers on now. I'm getting old, Heggy.
I knew you'd have your slippers on.
No, honestly, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, people talk about, obviously, you're looking back and you'll have time to reminisce. And without a doubt, when I had that injury, I didn't look back at all. I was constantly worried about the future. And that, to be honest, I mean, naturally I think we all, especially the time that we're going through at the moment, is that you do. you do worry about what you're going to do next. I've got a young family, and you know, how am I going to keep myself occupied? How am I going to stay involved with cricket? Something that I love. I've always been involved with. Mm-hmm. But you have to be content with what you've achieved, because otherwise you're going to live in the shadow all the time. And it's important, especially for me now, to go, actually, yeah, look, I've got some great memories. I've met some amazing people. I've played, you know, I've been smacked around the park by some unbelievable cricketers, and I've absolutely loved the challenge.
Brilliant. Now, over the last couple of days, Bunny, we've taken a few questions from our members, supporters, and fans. I'm going to read a few of them out now. So there's a question from Rick Lee. Was it a hard decision to come from Durham to Lancashire? Many thanks for your services at Lancashire. It's been a pleasure to watch you at Emirates Old Trafford.
Yeah, I mean, incredibly hard, if I'm being honest. It was my, you know, the club which I grew up. That gave me so many opportunities. Kind of gave me the opportunities to fulfill my dreams. So of course, when that moment come, you know, the end of the 2017 season, it was I think a decision that I think now I can look back and think it was the right decision, because I think my future is looking bright at Lancashire, which is great. But of course, at that time, I was thinking, once again, I've got a young family. I'm gonna see less of them. Mm-hmm. But also, like, I still felt as though I had loads of wickets and like opportunities to win games. That's all I've ever wanted to do, really, is be as good as I can be and to win games. You know, get the ball in my hand and constantly try and make a difference. And at the time, I was thinking, that's such a shame that I can't do that for my, you know, my boyhood club that I've given an opportunity. But equally, once again, once I'd made that decision, I came down to Lancashire. I was like, wow, this is a different, completely different club, a different, from many different reasons. You know, the obviously finances, from, you know, you even got, this is, Heggy, you'll probably make it that, but you get protein shake for free. I mean, I used to buy me protein shake when I used to go to the gym. I was like, I was like Oliver Twist saying, like, please, sir, can I have some more, type of thing? And honestly, it was fantastic. But yeah, it complete. I mean, because you sometimes you sign for a different club, and the grass isn't always green on the other side. So I was naturally a bit nervous for that. But then halfway through the season, I remember I played against Surrey, and I bowled really well that game. And it was Alex Stewart that came up to me. He said, "This move has been great for you. You're bowling. You look fit. You're hungry. You're bowling quicker than what you have been." And I trained so hard. And it's only now that I start to think, well, actually, like Lancs at the time only signed me for, you know, pretty much a handful of games to try and, you know, win a few games and be a bit of a squad player. And I was like, no, that's not me at all. I want to win. I've got to be careful what I say, because I said I want to win trophies, I want to win games, but we got relegated, so that obviously didn't work quite so well as I was planned out to be.
I know that feeling.
But like, yeah, I mean, the reasons, without going into too much detail, is obviously I wanted to obviously try and stay at Durham, but the opportunity wasn't there. But I also wanted to try and kind of fulfill some dreams with regards to coaching. Unfortunately, at that time as well, Durham couldn't quite guarantee that. And Lancs with Paul Allett, Glenn Chappell, and everybody in the backroom staff were absolutely 100% behind me and supportive of a move. And let's be honest, I've got an opportunity to play, you know, for the amazing Red Rose, a county that I've played against many, many times. I've had many hidings. I've played against some unbelievable players that have represented Lancashire, and for me to think, you know, one day I could wear the Red Rose and be capped, I mean, how good would that be? So yeah, I'm you know, the last 2 years have been amazing.
Well, it's been our pleasure to have you, mate, and we thank you for all the effort you've put in to every time that you play for us. Talking about with coaching and coaching probably hopefully being next on the agenda for Graham Onions. Steve McMinn, what advice would you give any budding young fast bowler?
It's a great question. And I used to think very differently about this, but I would. So there's two bits. I would say be a sponge. So try and learn as much as you possibly can, take as much advice as you possibly can, but be the best you. And I say that to everybody. And I think what I mean by that is be the best you is every person is unique in their own special way. I was blessed with getting close to the stumps and bowling decent pace, but nibbling the ball around and constantly keeping the batsman, playing all the time in and around the off stump. Some lads who are, Steve Harmison was blessed with pace. Mm-hmm. If Steve Harmison had tried to do what I did, he wouldn't have been half the bowler because he's naturally quicker than me. He's taller. He's got that stat. He was scary. Equally, if I couldn't be like a Steve Harmison, you know what I mean? If I learned it out very quick. I started my career being too short, and I got hit around a lot, and I gradually worked on my line and length, and I became a lot better bowler, really. So I just think that people sometimes try to be somebody else. Just be the best person that you can be, and I suppose that's on and off the field.
Well, we mentioned at the start, Bunny, that you've played over what do we say, over 350 games during your career. And we got a question from Margaret Nash. What was the most bizarre or funny moment you've been involved with, both on and off the field?
It's funny, actually, because I think it's probably a little bit of old age, but you forget a lot of things that have gone on in the past. You just remember them maybe the last year or so. But I mean, from a cricketing point of view, is like a bizarre moment was when I took me 9 wicket. Took me my 9 wicket haul plus the run out. That was a test match day. I didn't get picked again, and went to Notts at Trent Bridge. Mitchell Claydon was playing at the time. We had just got bowled out, so I didn't have a bat. Excuse me. He was walking off the field, and kind of it's almost that super sub moment. So he came off, and I came on, and I bowled. I just pretty much bowled all day, and took 9 wickets. Every time I got tired, there was like a drinks break or a lunch break, and I'd come back out. I'd kind of get myself going. And then people, as soon as you get 6 and 7 wickets, and you've took them all, they start thinking, you can get your 10 for here. And then I was so tired. Scott Bulthwick was bowling at one end, and it was Fletcher, Luke Fletcher. He knocked it to short fine leg, and to be honest, I wasn't even really concentrating. The ball came to us, and I was so tired. I just threw the ball anywhere, really, and it hit the stumps, and he ran him out. And everyone was like, "What on earth are you doing?" He said, "You could have got 10 wickets." Came on the next over, and of course, I got my 9th wicket, and it would have been, I would have got 10 for, which is obviously would have been amazing. The other one, there's been 2 moments in my career where we haven't had a single night's sleep, where the fire alarm's gone off and the sprinklers have gone off in my room, which is there was like a fire in one of the kitchens, so we came down, we had a bowl the next day. One lad, or wicketkeeper, I'll not name his name, slept through the whole thing. So he woke up literally. I mean, don't know if anyone's experienced that before, but the alarm, you have to wake up because it's so noisy. Literally slept through the whole thing. That was incredible. And then the other really good moment was back in 2013 when we'd already won the championship. This was obviously for Durham, and we went down to Sussex, and just about to get beat within 3 days. Safe to say we kind of enjoyed ourselves down at Hull. It's always nice when you've won the championship with 1 game to spare. And these 2 lads, number 8 and 9, put on a 150 partnership, which meant that we could stay down at Hull for 1 more night. So one of the lads put on Phil Collins as 1 more night, really loud on the speakers, and we all just had a massive chuckle at that. So we had 1 more night, that was great. That was good fun.
Well, you deserved it if you won the championship. We got a question from Jack Reed, aged 11. What age did you start to play cricket, and what inspired you to take it up professionally?
Wow, that's a great question. I was quite a late developer, to be honest. I didn't really start to kind of take it seriously until I was probably 15. I mean, I played at 13, and I enjoyed it, but I didn't. Once again, I would just bowl a few balls, and I would play as a batter as well. And it wasn't until I was around about 15 where I started to think, oh, I hope that somebody maybe doesn't turn up to a 13 game on a Sunday morning. So I'd sit at the bar at Gateshead Fell, and I'd have my blackcurrant and soda and a bacon sandwich. And I was just thinking, I hope somebody doesn't turn up so I can just join in and field. But I think then it's probably about the time there when I think I started to realise, I could bowl quite quick. But also I started then probably around 16 or 17 when I started to play a bit more as a batter, and I scored a second team 100. And I was a decent fielder, and then I got picked on a trial by the great man Jeff Cook, and then I went. I was just at a leisure centre, and the great man Jeff just came and said, "Look, would you like to come and have a bowl at one of our players?" And at the time, it was Martin Love. Martin Love literally got off a flight, and he had his woolly hat on with his helmet over the top. Just came from Australia, absolutely freezing, and there was a young tearaway Graham Onions just running in and bowling bouncers, and he was like, "Oh, are you mean to bowl those bouncers?" And I was like, "Oh yeah." At the time, I didn't. Really, but I could bowl quick. But Jeff Cook came to me and said, "Look, you've got something. If we can look after you and you can learn a little bit, then you can take your game to the next level." And then literally a week later, I remember I was just about to send me my UCAS form away to go to uni, and I had my mum on my left and my dad on the right. And Jeff Cook said, "How do you fancy being a professional cricketer?" And I was like, I looked at my mum and dad, and I was just like, "Look, follow your dream if that's what you want to do." And then from that day on, I once again I made a bit of a pact that I would just try my very best to be as good as I could be, and it's worked out all right.
Brilliant. So Jack, I hope you got that. And got a question from Richard Annandale. What are your standout moments from your games? One with England and two with Lancashire. Let's start with England first, because that's the pinnacle of your career. Any professional cricketer getting to play for the country. Tell us about your standout moment for England, Bunny.
Yeah, the obvious one is obviously my debut. I mean, we played against Somerset the week before on Sky, and everyone was saying, "Oh, this is the Sky game's the game where if you do well, you can get selected." And of course, there was me and Harmy. Harmy was still very much in England's thoughts, really. Luckily enough for me, I kind of blew Somerset away in the first innings. I bowled quick, and we bowled them out for 90. I think I got 7 for. Harmy bowled really nicely as well, but then I worked out. I found out that I was going to get picked. So naturally, and Harmy was amazing during that time. He was like, "No, you deserve it. You go and play, go and express yourself and enjoy yourself." So naturally, that Test match and that kind of relief and everything that goes with it was just phenomenal. Like, I'll never forget that feeling. I had my mum and dad in the crowd, and it was quite an emotional day, but it just went over so fast. And obviously we won. We beat the West Indies. That was great. But I think the biggest one for me, and I could talk about this all day, is like my second debut back in 2012, which was against actually 2013 it might be, against the West Indies again. And that was when I came back from obviously my injury, which I had. So that was almost like my second debut. That for me was all the hard work. Yeah, of course, you put a lot of hard work and determination goes into your debut. But that second debut for me against the West Indies at Edgbaston was probably my most memorable game because of all the hard work that I kind of put in. Well, it wasn't until Tino Best got 96. I couldn't believe that. But yeah, they were two, of course, special days.
And what about for Lancashire?
Yeah, Lancs. I mean, when I first joined, obviously 2008 was. It didn't go to plan. I mean, we had some amazing games in that year. I mean, we had a game, I'm sure you guys can remember, the one down at the Oval. That was so close to winning. Where where Parky got caught short leg by a fielder that probably shouldn't have been on. If we'd won that game, we might have got some points, would have climbed up the table, but unfortunately, that wasn't to be. Probably the best game was in that year was that game against Somerset, which I'm not sure if anyone can remember that one, but it ended up as a tie when Maharaj got the last wicket when Jack Leach came running down, and we'd set the one person in the deep. Everyone else was on the one. He chipped it straight to him. I think we got bowled out for 90. Then they got 190, and then we got 200 and something. And they got bowled out for like 77. So that game was phenomenal to be around. I did have another one right down actually, but another good game just because I took a few wickets was the home game against Hampshire. It was boiling hot, and I took a few wickets on a really flat pitch. And that was in a kind of strange way. I love the feeling of toil in the dirt, as we call it. The constant battle of flat pitches when it's doing nothing, and your captain throwing your ball, and he says, "Look, make something happen." So coming back to the question of why do you want to be a fast bowler, and what advice would you give? Is that be the person that the captain can throw the ball to and be reliable, and realise that you can change a game, because anyone can do that.
It's brilliant advice, and great memories. And we've touched on lots and lots of things. Lots of questions come in from our members and supporters, Bunny. But one that we've not touched on, and I'd probably like to finish on, it's from a David Brown. I'd like to know if there were any batsmen that Graham liked to bowl against, as he knew he had the wood on them and he was likely to get them out. And if there were any batters he knew he could bowl at for a week without dismissing them. Maybe a question.
It's actually a really good question. And the one that I struggle with actually a little bit is who scored loads of runs against me. And that's not me being big-headed, because I always thought that I would get someone out. I always thought I'll eventually get them out. But I think I probably try and erased it from my memory when Nick Compton, he used to get runs against Durham for fun all the time. And I was like, yeah, mate, how's he getting runs all the time? We do plan after plan after plan. And you'd look up at the scoreboard and he's batted all day and he's got another 100. So someone like Nick Compton, he was very good. Michael Hussey in the Ashes in 2009 was unbelievable at pick and length. So my key strengths when I did play for England, I started to learn my line and length, was that I constantly challenged line and length all the time. With a good bouncer, I felt as though to him, I would pitch it short and he'd pull me, and if I bowled it full, he'd drive me. And that sounds so basic, but I felt as though my margin error was like this. I had nowhere to go. The guys who I generally, I actually love bowling against left-handers because I get so close to the stumps. I pitch it on middle stump and I try and seam it away. Or if I bowl straight, I can hit middle stump as well. I think the guys who I generally did really well against are guys who sat in the crease and struggle to get forward or back, because I would trap them on the crease. People, for example, I know he's obviously an unbelievable player. Someone like Ricky Ponting in the Ashes. I remember I was bowling quick at the time, but he would pull you off length. And I remember bowling one of my balls, and I looked up and I was 90 miles an hour, and I was like, "Oh, I'm bowling well here." Bowled a fraction short, and he hit me literally out the ground, what I would class as a half decent length. But he would just pick up length so well, whereas some guys didn't have the ability to see the length that well, and it would beat them for pace, and they'd splice it in the air, or they would get them out LBW. Someone like Trescothick. I used to enjoy bowling at him because once again he would stand at the crease. Unbelievable player, fantastic player, but somebody who I who I enjoy bowling at.
Brilliant. So we talked about your bowling, your fast bowling for England, your fast bowling for Lancashire, but we've not talked about your batting much, Bunny, this evening. And I know the modern day player practices batting much more than we did back in the day. But a question from Kevin G. I think it's G or G. As a lower order batsman, you didn't often get chance to score big. But which batsman have you taken most pride in helping them to get to their century by hanging in there at the other end?
Well, when I first started off, I think I've always had a bit of ability with a bat. Now, as I've got older, that's plummeted. It's gone downhill massively.
I know that feeling.
Honestly, but yeah, I started off quite nicely. I think I had an average of around about 15 when I kind of started off. But I think as I'd come as a night watchman, which is never particularly nice. But it would give you an opportunity to score some runs. You know, if you get through that horrible period at the beginning, on the night time, you can open the bat the next day, and it's quite nice. You've got really attacking fields, you can score, and that brings us on to my highest score, which I got 65. So that was as a night watchman. And Keaton Jennings at Durham, funny because we've obviously both played for Lancs now. He ended up getting 200. So that was an amazing time. Obviously, one of my best mates, someone who I'm incredibly close to. But it was great because I mean, getting 50 runs. I've never even thought I would raise my bat. So obviously that was a really nice moment. There was another moment at Durham. It was at Worcester for Durham. Scott Borthwick. He was on around about 70 at the time. And I must have faced around about 100 and odd balls for about 13 runs, and he needed another 30 odd runs to get to his 100, and he managed to get there. And I was on about 33, I think, and he slogged one up in the air. So he didn't. So I've stuck around for him, and then he never did the same for me. So I could get another 50. So it just shows the badass mentality.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean and then obviously it comes down to the two episodes in South Africa where, although I wasn't seeing anyone to their 100, I was kind of helping my country just to block a few, which was always good fun.
Brilliant, Bunny. Well, that was a brilliant 40 minutes or so that we've had together, and we really appreciate you coming on. We know as Red Rose fans, we really appreciate that the effort that you showed every time that you pulled on the Red Rose of Lancashire. That was never in any doubt. I think that the coaches knew when they signed you that they knew that they'd get a person who would run through a brick wall for the team. And we'd just like to thank you for the last couple of years. You were welcome at Emirates Old Trafford anytime you want. You know where we are. We'd love to see you again. I'm sure you'll be around, and I'm sure you'll be helping the young cricketers of the future. And we wish you all the very best in the next adventure in your life, which I think will be very exciting for you.
Yeah, thanks, Heggie. No, I mean, can I just take that moment as well? I know there's only a few people on here, but I'm very, very proud and very, very lucky to have played for such an amazing county of Lancashire. I mean, the future is bright with regards to the coaching and being part of the younger generation and helping them with some little gold nuggets that'll hopefully get a few lads like on my screen here to hopefully represent the Red Rose Lancashire. But the support that I've had has been incredible. So I can't thank you guys enough. Obviously, thank you. I know it's a tricky time at the moment, but we'll get through this all, and you'll be watching the lads in the First Division next year, and I'm sure you'll support them as well as what you have done, over the last 3 years. So thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
Fantastic, Bunny. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, boys and girls. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. I hope you've enjoyed the chat. I've certainly enjoyed the chat with Bunny. He's been a great cricketer and a great player for Lancashire cricket. Look out for the next one. I'm sure we'll do some more over the winter period. Keep yourselves safe, and we really look forward to welcoming you again next time. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.